Hello, algebra students. Today we are going to keep working with our quadratic functions. Those are the ones that give us graphs that are parabolas. Today we're not actually graphing them. We're going to use them on one of your favorite things ever, which is story problems. Yay! So when we're modeling quadratic functions, that's when we're talking about using a quadratic in a real life kind of a situation. Again, we're not asking you to graph today. But when we're doing this, as you can see on what I've got here, the vertex is going to be our most important information to find, because we're going to be trying to either maximize or minimize each of these values to find out when something gets to the highest point of a parabola, mostly. So let's take a look at the worksheet. The worksheet is called Modeling Quadratic Functions, and we're going to do some of the problems together right from that. So here's number one. A building contractor estimates that her profit in dollars for building a high rise, so H is the number of stories. It's given by P is for profit equals -4H squared plus 160H. I want to know what the height would be that would give her the most profit. If I'm looking for the height, that's looking for the H in here. In a normal equation, this would be x's and y's. So it would be y equals -4x squared plus 160x. We are going to do this work exactly the same, regardless of whether it's x's and y's, or in this case, h for height and p for profit. But I've got the words bolded that help you to know which variable we're looking for. And we're always going to find this just like we would for the vertex. So we're going to still use the opposite of b over 2a. Hopefully at this point you're feeling comfortable with this, knowing that in this equation, the a is going to be -4, the b is going to be 160, and the c isn't there, so it's a 0. So to find the height, this would be just like finding the x. I would do the opposite of 160, which will be -160, over 2 times the a, which is -4, gives me -160 over -8, which would be 20. Now remember, this was asking the height of the building. H is the number of stories. So this contractor can maximize profit if the building is 20 stories tall. But now if I want to know what the profit will be, that's like finding the y part of the vertex. Or in this case, it's the p for profit. So we would say the profit equals -4. Now instead of the h, I know that my height is going to be 20. So we're just going to do some substitution there. Now, you can absolutely just use your calculator on this. 20 squared is 400. 400 times -4 is going to be -1600. And 160 times 20, 16 times 2 is going to be 32. Now you've got a 0 from the 160 and a 0 from the 20. And then we would just simplify this. Add this together. That's the amount of profit. We do want labels on these answers. And make sure that you're getting answers that make sense. For instance, in part A, if we had found that the height should be a negative number, that doesn't make sense in this situation. If we're making a profit and it's negative, that's not a very good business model. So both of these answers make more sense to have positive answers in this case. For number 2, now we've got a rocket. Now hopefully you understand when we're talking about the rocket being launched, you know what this would look like, right? It would go up and then it would come back down. Usually when you launch rockets, you don't have it go straight up and straight back down. It's going to be at an angle, so this shape will be a parabola or a parabolic kind of a shape. So we've got this model rocket. Here is our flight path. Notice this time I've got H again, but it's in a different place, so it's a different thing. H is the height of the rocket, and T is the time. So I want to know how long it takes, how many seconds it takes to get to the maximum height. So I would use my opposite of b over 2a. And again, in this, I would hope that you'd be okay knowing that a is -5, b is 30, c is 10. To find the time, I'm going to go with the opposite of b over 2 times a. Three seconds. It'll take 3 seconds for it to get to its maximum height. Now, if I want to know what that height is, I just have to substitute the 3 seconds in for the time. So the height here would be -5 times 3 squared plus 30 times 3 plus 10. So again, absolutely grab your calculator here, but I'm going to do it without my calculator. 3 squared is 9 times 5 is going to, times the -5 would be -45. 30 times 3 is going to be 90. Together right now, those give me a positive 45 plus 10 is going to be 55, and this was being measured in meters. So, I guess I could, okay. We're going to do one more together. Mrs. Harris has a taco stand. She found that her daily costs are approximated by this equation. Now, I do want to mention with this equation, this notation is called function notation, and we really haven't talked about it right, at this point, but I just want you to know that that's just saying the cost, and we're using x as the input. That's why that x is in parentheses right there. You could really ignore this. I kept it like that on the worksheet because I wanted you to see function notation, but this is really all about the c. You can kind of ignore that. So the cost is equal to x squared minus 40x plus 610. X is the number of tacos that they sell. So I want to know the number of tacos that she should sell if she wants to minimize her cost. Now, this isn't about her profit, this is about her cost. So I would start again by saying, all right, A equals, I don't see a number there, so it's 1. B is -40, and C is 610. Oh, squeeze. So the number of tacos would be the opposite of B. So the opposite of -40 would be positive 40. 2 times 1. So if she sells 20 tacos, again, this isn't about her profit. That's about how much her costs would be. That's where we can minimize her cost for the stuff that she needs to get. To know what that minimum cost is, I would put the 20 tacos into this equation. So the cost will be 20 squared minus 40 times 20 plus 610. And 20 squared is 400. Right now I've got a negative 400 when I do that subtraction. Negative 400 plus 610 is going to give me $210. That's her minimum cost. Okay, now that's the first 3 problems from the worksheet. You have 2 more problems to finish. And again, the entire worksheet, all of these problems are about finding the vertex and have everything in the right order. So just when you're finding the first one, it's that opposite of b over 2a. And then you substitute it back in to find what the y value would be. So finish up those 2 problems, check out what the key in Schoology, and then when you're done, make sure that you take the formative. Let me know if you need any help.